Hey geometry students, welcome to our first lesson of the new semester. We're going to be talking today about ratios and proportions. It's our lead-in to similar triangles instead of congruent triangles. And we need these skills about solving equivalent ratios, which are proportions. We need to be able to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. And remember, as always, if you're writing this down, you can and should pause as you need to in case I am moving too quickly. Okay, so a ratio is a thing that it relates two differently sized things to each other. So if I've got this triangle and I've got its buddy over here, which is half as big, then what I can do is I can relate the two of the parts to each other. So I can say that this has a 6-inch to 3-inch ratio. And because ratios really are just fractions, we can reduce this. So both of these numbers divide by 3. And that's how we get a 2-to-1 ratio. So our goal here in a second is going to be to reduce the ratios. And yeah, we can write it as a fraction if we wanted to. So we look for the biggest number that both things can be divided by, which in this case is 2. I get 32 meters to 3 meters. And then for ones that have different units, the first thing I have to do is I have to convert them to the same units. And it's always mathematically easier to convert them to the smaller units. So my feet should change to inches if I was going to do it right. And the only way to change feet to inches is to multiply times 12 inches. And we're doing all this before we even start reducing. 5 times 12 is 60 over 20. And these both divide by 20, which leaves me with a 3-to-1 ratio. Okay. That's supposed to be a dot over that. Let's see if we can fix that. On C, they're both in the same units again, and they both divide by 3. So it should be 8 yards to 1 yard. And then on D, they're not both in the same units, so we need to change the smaller units. In this case, the smaller units are centimeters. Like 100 cents in a dollar or 100 years in a century, centimeters means there are 100 of them in a meter. So we're going to multiply times 100. Have 150 centimeters to 600 centimeters. And then we divide by 150. And I get a 1-to-4 ratio. 1 centimeter to 4 centimeters. For some reason, my pencil's acting a little funky, so sorry about the handwriting issues. It's a little messier than I like it. Okay, so we can also use ratios to find the missing angles in triangles. Let's just draw a random triangle. And they said the extended ratio is 1 to 2 to 3, which means I take the degrees in the angles and I reduced them by something. And that something, when I don't know what it is x. We don't know what it is. So I could say this angle is 1x, this angle is 2x, and this angle is 3x. And another thing that we happen to know is that triangles add up to 180. And now I can use that information to solve for x. 1x plus 2x plus 3x equals 180. So 6x equals 180. And then we divide by 6, x equals 30. And what that then means is 1 times 30 is 30 degrees. 2 times 30 is 60 degrees. 3 times 30 is 90 degrees, which makes that a right angle. So when we're setting these problems up on our assignment, whatever these numbers are, for an angle problem, you would put that x, and the other x in the angles, and then add them up to equal 180. For a perimeter problem, you do that for the sides. Whatever number x, whatever number x, whatever number x on the sides, and then they add up to equal whatever they say the perimeter is in the problem. There will be a problem like that on your homework with the perimeter instead of the angles. So definitely want to be careful with that, and I'll make sure I'm available for questions on the Google Meet for anyone who doesn't know quite what's going on. When two ratios are equal to each other, we can set up a special type of equation called a proportion, and we solve proportions by cross-multiplying. So we multiply along the diagonal to get 10 times x, and then the other diagonal, 5 times 16, is 80. We divide by 10, so x equals 8. Which makes sense, because 5 is half of 10, so 8 should be half of 16. I'll make sure we make the equations bigger in future videos. I just learned how to fix that this morning after I had printed all of these notes. Okay, so now we got to put parentheses when there's more than one thing there, and then we will again cross multiply. 3y times 1 is 3y, and then 2 times y plus 1 is going to get distributed. 3y equals 2y plus 2, and then we subtract the 2y, y equals 2. We're going to do 2 more of these. Cross multiply, 5x equals 16. Again, if you did it the other way, 16 equals 5x, we'd get the same answer. It should be fine. The order there doesn't matter. We'll divide by 5. We know we're going to get a decimal, and that's okay. We're allowed to have decimals on these problems. In this case, 3.2. Okay, same thing, parentheses here. 3x equals 4, parentheses x minus 3. 3x equals 4x minus 12 after we multiply. Subtract 4x, negative 1x equals negative 12. Divide by negative 1. And remember, as always, you can pause anytime you need to or go back if you have any things that you're not sure about. Okay, so the last thing is the geometric mean. It's not on your assignment for tonight or for tomorrow, but what we're going to do is they ask you to find the geometric mean. You take the two numbers, multiply them together, and then take the square root. So for A, it would be 12 times 27. Find out what that is. And then take the square root. In this case is 18. We're going to go to 2 decimal places because of the way these particular answers work. That's not a hard and fast rule. It's convenient for the way these remaining two problems are written, because they will be decimals. We're going to do 18 times 54. And we get 972. And then we take the square root, and we get, if we round correctly, 31.18. And finally, 16 times 18, which I believe is the square root of 288. And then if I take the square root, 16.97. It's very important that we don't round that to 17 because the square root of 289 is 17, which means it's important to note that this is not 17. And that's where we're going to stop for today's video. If you have questions, you can always attend a Google Meet. We will make sure that we get anything taken care of there. I will see you guys in the next video or the next online lesson or the next in-person lesson, whichever one fits you. Thanks.